everyone, and welcome back to yet another comic book video. It's been a while since I've done a video period, but just haven't really, I suppose, been in the mood to make a video. Although I have updated my collection quite a bit since my last comic book video, which was my Amazing Spider-Man collection, which has even grown since then. And I know I said I was going to do a video on my other keys, and hopefully, if I make it through, I have a lot of videos to get through, or a lot of comic books to get through. So this is going to be broke up into several parts. This first one is going to be my updated Keys Spider-Man collection, spanning throughout all of the series that I have, which consists for the most part of Amazing. There's one web, which you see right in front of you, as well as two other books, one from Spectacular, as well as one from Marvel Team Up, which, if you're wondering what that could possibly be, we'll get to it. And this will also encompass my Punisher collection, because as you all know, Punisher first appeared in Spider-Man comic books. And I don't have, Punisher doesn't have many keys to speak of, period. So I figured I would just go ahead and touch on the Punisher, I suppose, keys in this video. Now, this is not the oldest book I have, if you've seen my other comic collection videos. This is going to be going, for the most part, in reverse order, but starting first with a title outside of Amazing, and then working back from 365. But what you see right in front of you is Web of Spider-Man number 118. This is the first appearance of Ben Reilly, also known as Scarlet Spider. Now, Ben Reilly did first appear in another issue, which I do not have, but this is his first appearance as Scarlet Spider. Pretty cheap book, if you can find it. It's maybe a $3-4 book. I got it for, I think, $3.50 at my local comic store, so it's easy to come by. And considering how popular Scarlet Spider is, they should be doing something with him soon. He was a alternate skin in the recent PS4 exclusive Spider-Man game. But Scarlet Spider has been incredibly popular, which I find odd that his book is so inexpensive. So if you get a chance, definitely pick this up. Moving on to the next book here. And yes, I know that is not how these stands work, but if I was to use them the way they're supposed to be used, the book would be at too much of an angle to record, so I'm using it this way. This is, as prior mentioned, the Amazing Spider-Man 365. This is the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. I had several copies of this. I just sold off, I'd say last month, I sold one of my copies off for, I think, $9, which isn't bad. Of course, Spider-Man 2099 number 1 is his next appearance, but this is a 5-page preview of that book. So, relatively cheap book to find, and I love Spider-Man 2099, so I'm not going to complain at all, but I didn't have to pay a single thing for that, as my dad, who collected books, also had that book in his collection, as well as this book and the next few books. This is Amazing Spider-Man 363. The part 3 of the Carnage trilogy, if you will. The next book I have is 362, the second book, and then of course 361, and they're all going to fall over now, there we go, which is the first appearance of Carnage. This is the first print, beautiful cover, but make sure if you do get this, definitely get the first print, as if the Venom movie does fall through, as it sounds like it's going to, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it tomorrow, so please no spoilers in the comments. Not necessarily for me, but for other people who haven't seen it, although I have heard that it is not that great, but a post-credit scene is great for it, so I look forward to seeing that. And if they do end up doing something with Carnage, which is the hope, which has seen this skyrocket in value, hopefully it doesn't end up crashing and burning, because this book is finally getting well-deserved credit, much like Venom's first appearance. So pick that up if you get the chance. And speaking of Venom, here we have his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 300. Wonderful book, great book to have in your collection. This book I actually got a few years ago for $120. This is actually the first book I paid my own money for. I just wanted it for so long, and I came across $100, and my dad helped pitch in 20 more several years ago at this point. But I'm very glad that I did get it for the price it was going for at the time, because it's shot through the moon as of late, and this book is in really, really nice shape. So, alright, moving on, still on the subject of Venom, we have Venom's, I suppose, first really disclosed cameo. He's had a few in Web, like Web 118, or not 118, but Web 18, sorry, which just displays a hand pushing Peter onto train tracks, and his spider sense wasn't alerted to it, sort of hinting at the symbiote turning on him. Because as we all know, Spider-Man got rid of the symbiote in Web number 1, which I do have, but I haven't put it in this video. But so as of Web 18, they, I suppose, decided to start laying the groundwork, which it's one of those cheesy first cameos that are more of a fun fact than a valuable book. And speaking of fun facts, this is Todd McFarlane's second work on the Amazing Spider-Man title. The first being a very, very similar cover in Amazing Spider-Man 298. Beautiful book. Todd McFarlane's first work on the Amazing Spider-Man series, and in my opinion, one of the best Amazing Spider-Man artists, next only, I would say, to John Romita. The legendary John Romita Sr., nothing against John Romita Jr., I just think quite a bit of his work that he's done, especially as of late, has not been that great. But it's still good to see father and son duos doing so well in comic books. Speaking of the Black Suit, we have Secret Origins number 8, which is a book that many people associate to be the first appearance of the Black Suit. While that is not correct, it is the first appearance chronologically. This shows the origin of the Black Suit, how Peter got it during the Secret Wars, which was really a necessary read, because Amazing Spider-Man 252 kind of just came back with Peter coming back from the Secret Wars, which was a book that wouldn't even come out until months later. So you would just see him come back with his black suit and talking about these adventures that he had had, and the reader would have no idea what was going on. Obviously now we can read it in the order it was supposed to be, but back then it was a very odd choice for them to do. And if you can see it, I got it signed by Mike Zeck, the artist, and John Beatty, the inker, at Tidewater Comic Con a few years back. So it was really good to meet them. Had a great time there, and you will hear me mention that convention a few more times throughout this video. Moving right along, speaking of Amazing 252, here it is, Amazing 252. I also got it at Tidewater Comic Con along with the next two books. I had been wanting this book, and here we go. I had been wanting this book for a while, and it had just recently started going up in value, and I happened across this beautiful newsstand copy. I mean, there's almost nothing wrong with this book. It is gorgeous. It looks like you just took it from the presses. The corners are nice and sharp. There's not a single spine tick, not a single anything in sight in this book. This is an incredible book, and if I think there was ever a book that had a shot at getting a 9.8 or a 9.9 or a 10, this would be that book. This is a gorgeous book. But I'm not a huge fan of just sending books off to CGC just for the heck of it. I'd much rather just get signatures sent off to CGC, because I like still opening my books and looking through them. And speaking of the next two books, we got lesser known first appearances of the Black Suit. This is Marvel Team Up number 141. Came out, as you can see, May of the same exact year as 252. So same year and same month, making this a tie for the first appearance of the Black Suit officially. Of course, there were issues of previews where they asked for concept arts for a different look for Spider-Man, and this was a submission, and someone ended up really liking it at Marvel, and they decided to put it into several previews just to test the water, just to see, hey, if, Spider-Man did get this new suit and showed the concept art, what would you all think? And, of course, a lot of people were freaking out because they didn't want to see Spider-Man change. But obviously that's what they ended up doing. So officially this is one of his first appearances. Again, a beautiful book. And this book and the next book were actually shown to me by the same person I got the 252 from. Because when I got this at the time, the several first appearances were not widely known. And even now, they're still not very widely known, although I am seeing it pop up more. So he keyed me into this book, as well as a beautiful copy of Spectacular Spider-Man number 90, which is, again, also a first appearance with a Black Suit, which appears inside the book, not on the cover, making this the only one of the trio first appearances where the Black Suit is not on the cover. A Black Suit is on the cover, but that's Black Cat. And you can also see it up here in the corner, where he's half black suit, half regular suit. Again, May. This, however, is not a newsstand, sadly. It's the only one of the three that isn't. But again, this is also a comic book that is in gorgeous shape. So they haven't started picking up steam yet. So if I were you, because with Peter being in outer space and Sony looking to have a possible crossover with Venom, the whole Black Suit could come back and be done right, this time by the MCU. So I'll definitely try and pick these up before they gain steam like 252 has. Because 252 has gained a lot of momentum and has gotten out of reach for what a lot of people would pay for that book. So definitely pick those up if you get the chance. Now this is Amazing 239. This is the first full appearance of the Hobgoblin. Obviously 238 is the first appearance, but we only really get to see him on the cover and the very last panel of the last page. 238 only really talks about how he got the suit and what happened in between, and we don't see him as the Hobgoblin until the very last panel. It is a very iconic image of Hobgoblin, but really this is the comic where we see him throughout, and we finally get that battle with Spider-Man. So, really nice key. Love that cover too. It's a beautiful cover. So definitely pick that up if you get the chance. And speaking of 238, we have Amazing Spider-Man 238. This is the first, obviously, appearance of Hobgoblin. See him there on the cover. This does have the tattoos. I know many people mention that, but might as well. When I went to get this, the comic shop owner that I was going to, he was selling his collection, his personal collection, because he wanted to flesh out his first 10 issues. So he was selling a lot of his later issues, and he had 2 copies of this. One was like $10 more, one was $35, one was $45. This one was in significantly better shape, and it's newsstand, and I did check before I got it to make sure it did have the tattoos, and happily paid $45 for it. And because even at the time that was a great deal, and now even more so. So very happy about that. This next book I also got from him. This is a book that will definitely be picking up steam here shortly. This is Amazing Spider-Man 162. This is the first appearance of Jigsaw. This is a book that not a lot of collectors really know about, because it's really a very random book, but Jigsaw obviously is the arch enemy of Punisher, and this goes into his origin, as well as having a fight with Punisher himself. So it's a very, very key Punisher book, especially with Season 2 of Punisher coming out at some point. We don't have a release date for it yet, but it's definitely coming, as we have seen set footage of them filming for Season 2. And as you saw, if you have seen season 1, they set up for Jigsaw at the very end. I'm not going to spoil who it was or what happened. Just know that that is what happened, and he will definitely be making an appearance in season 2. So definitely pick this up. This was like $3.50. You can easily get this under $5, and this is definitely going to be picking up some steam with as popular as Punisher was, and no doubt they're going to go even farther out now they know how much of a success it was. So definitely try and pick that up if you can. Man, as long as this video is going, I might need to separate my Amazing Spider-Man collection into 2 parts. I think I might have to do that. I think we'll only go down to, as soon as we get below issue 100, I'm going to separate it to another video more than likely. Although that's where most of my books are. Moving right along though, we have Amazing Spider-Man 136. This is the first appearance of Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin. Pretty key book, I'd say. Harry Osborn didn't stay the Green Goblin for too long, as he wasn't as popular. Although it was a really interesting idea that was explored in Spider-Man 3. The travesty that is Spider-Man 3, having befallen the too many villains problem, much like DC is having to face right now. Hopefully they'll at some point do it again, because this was a great turn, especially if you consider all the events leading up to it. This is a great turn of events. Definitely a great book to pick up, and a pretty cheap one at that. Now moving right along, speaking of the Punisher, I do have, as some of you may have seen earlier, but not in this shape, Amazing Spider-Man 129. Now this is CGC'd. Go ahead and pick up the stand here. It has been CGC'd at a 6.5 with white pages. I wish it was a little bit better, because the only thing really holding it back is a little bit of water damage in the left corner. If you watch my other video, I did talk about that, and possibly hurting the value of it or the condition. Luckily I was still able to make out, as the even the price for it in this shape is way better than I paid for it. I paid a little over $400 for it, and I was able to get it signed by Jerry Conway, who wrote the book and co-created the Punisher, along with John Romita and Gil Kane, who did the cover. Again, I was able to meet Jerry Conway at the Tidewater Comic-Con, so glad to finally be able to show this off to you guys. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, and very glad I picked it up when I did, because at the time I overpaid a little bit for it. But now, this book is worth probably $1,100-$1,200 just the last time I checked. So very, very glad to have this in my collection. And on the subject of Punisher, since obviously it doesn't go any lower than that, we're going to go into my other Punisher books. We're going to start off with the 5-issue miniseries, starting off with issue number 1. Though it says 1 and 4, it is indeed a 5-issue miniseries. This again signed by Mike Zeck and John Beatty, and I will be showing off the rest of the 5. And yes, they will all be signed by Mike Zeck and John Beatty. They definitely had to get some work done when I gave them my books. I had them sign 6 books. So, but they were really, really nice to meet, and this is a gorgeous cover. Gorgeous cover. And I guess around issue 2, they decided that, you know what, we're going to make this a 5-issue limited series. So they put it, a 5-issue limited series. Another beautiful cover by John Beatty and Mike Zeck. And then, oh, and I forgot to mention, let me see, issue number 1 isn't, but when I got these, they were CGC'd, so this one, issue number 2, was CGC'd, at a 7.5. So some of these were CGC'd, and I did have to crack them out, but it was just a great price for getting all 5 of these. I can't remember how much I paid. I could look at it, but I think closing the screen would end my recording, so I'll just have to check in the next part to see what they were. But next up, we do have issue number 3. Beautiful cover once again by Mike Zeck and John Beatty. Again, you can see the signatures there. I love Mike Zeck's signature. It's a really, really fun signature. And this one was graded at an 8.0. Oh, and as you saw, issue 3, I guess they changed their minds. They wanted it to be a 4-issue series again. And it looks like on issue 4 they decided to stick with their plans of going with a 4-issue limited series. So it says number 4 out of 4. Again, signed by Mike Zeck and John Beatty. Newsstand as well. All of these, I believe, are newsstand, except for the last one, sadly. But this was graded at an 8.5. And it just says Jigsaw appearance on the notes. And then they decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead with that 5-issue idea. It's selling pretty well, so why not? So very Rambo-esque issue number 5 here. Mike Zeck, John Beatty again on the covers there. This one was not graded, but that is the last issue in the limited series for Punisher. Then the last book for Punisher I will show off is a very, very underrated key issue, very key issue for Punisher that not many people know about. And this is going to be hard to fit in frame because this is a magazine-sized book, so I'm going to have to pick this up here. But this is Marvel Preview Presents number 2. This is the first origin of the Punisher. Very key book, but very undervalued in my opinion. This book I bought graded at an 8.0 already for, I believe, $125. It's the first origin of Punisher as well as the first appearance of Dominic Fortune. As you may know, as of, I believe it was War Journal number 1, Punisher's origin was changed. I know this is his original origin, which is what the TV show or the Netflix show went with, of his parents being killed, or his parents, good God, his wife and kids being murdered by a gang while they were walking through, I believe it was Central Park. They witnessed a gang murder, and the mob went after him and killed his wife, his children, and almost killed Punisher, but miraculously he managed to pull through and hunt down those who killed his family. I have yet to read War Journal number 1, though I have it. I've been meaning to, but you know how I am with me meaning to do things. It just takes forever for me to do it. So I don't know how it's changed, but this, again, signed by Jerry Conway at Tidewater. Beautiful, beautiful book, and I would definitely suggest getting this for cheap, especially if Punisher continues to rise in popularity. So that's going to be it for my Punisher books, and we only have a few more books to go through here before I end the video, as it is getting pretty long, and I don't want to have you all suffer through such a long video. But moving on, again, we had more legwork from Jerry Conway here. Well, my top loader's breaking on this one. I don't know why, but for some reason, looking along my top loaders lately, several of them are starting to crack. And I don't know if that's just them sitting around or what it is, but whatever it is, they're starting to crack and tear. But they're not too severe. But this is Amazing Spider-Man 121, obviously. I have these out of order. I am sorry. Oh, jeez. I'll just show that one after. But this is also signed by Jerry Conway. It's a little hard to see, but there it is. I have it there because the previous owner, again, this is one of those books I got from that comic shop owner, someone had written "Kiss My A" on his butt. If you saw my other videos, I did show this off. They were polite enough to cross it out, but I didn't want Jerry Conway to write "Kiss My A, Jerry Conway." Because more than likely he was going to sign between Spider-Man's legs. And luckily enough, the way he signed it, managed to cover it up pretty well. But it just made for some fun conversation between Jerry Conway and myself. And it does make it so when it's up on the shelf, it's a little harder to see his autograph, but it is what it is. It's not in the best of shape, but I'm still glad to have it regardless. And the book I showed out of order, Amazing Spider-Man 122, The Death of the Green Goblin after having killed Gwen Stacy. As you can see, also signed by Jerry Conway. Again, the man who wrote both of these books. Very, very nice man. Very nice. I really enjoyed meeting him. Sadly, though, when I went, he didn't have a very long line, which was really crazy considering he co-created Punisher, killed Gwen Stacy, killed the Green Goblin, and he created some characters that you will see later on in my series. But for now, these books aren't in the best of shape, but they're in, I would say, decent mid-grade shape, and I'm very glad to have them regardless. And Jerry Conway did make a comment when I went to have him sign my 129, 121, 122, and my Preview Presents. He said it was really nice to see these books in such good shape. So He's just a really, really nice guy. If you ever get the chance, I definitely recommend you go to meet him. Wonderful, very humble man, very humble. But moving right along, I only have a few books left here to show you before we get down to the double digits. We have here 113, minor key, but I love the character. This is Amazing Spider-Man 113, as I mentioned, the first appearance of Hammerhead. There are rumors of him possibly being in a TV show, which, I mean, he's really a made-for-TV villain, and it'd be great to see that as either a minor villain in a movie or a major villain in a TV show. It'd be really, really fun to see, and it could shoot up the value of this just a little bit, but for now, it's a $10 book. Definitely recommend it if you can find it. Hammerhead's just a fun character. Alright, second to last book I have to show you, Amazing Spider-Man 102. This is the origin of Morbius, the living vampire. Obviously, this one and the next book I will show you are picking up heat, as a movie is said to be coming out by Sony. Morbius has been cast by Jared Leto. I don't know how well that's going to work out or why they thought that was a good choice considering Suicide Squad. But hopefully all goes well. If they do end up making the movie, I think it'll be odd. I do think they should have stuck with their original plan back in the 90s to have him appear as a Blade villain for Blade. I believe it was Blade 3. But the director ended up getting replaced for Blade 3, and we ended up getting a different plot and the wonderful movie that was Blade Trinity. He said sarcastically, in case you couldn't notice. But this is a square-bound book, so it is a little harder to get in good shape. It's kind of hard to see because mine is a little bit rolled. But if you can find this in good shape, I definitely recommend it. Origin of Morbius, it'll be picking up steam. But if not, I definitely recommend this one. The last book I have in this video, Amazing Spider-Man 101, the first appearance of Morbius. Not in the best of shape, but I did pick it up from that collection as well for, I believe, $65. Very happy to have this, as at the time it was like a $100 book. Now it's increasing even more so due to the rumors. Morbius is just a very fun character, and I definitely recommend picking up this book if you can, although I think at this point you might just want to wait it out, because right now we're in the hype stage, and as several of you might know, never pick up a book in hype stage unless you know it's going to be huge, in which case try and get it as early on in the hype stage as you can. So here we go into the next video. Hopefully you guys will join me for that one, part 2, starting with issue number 50 and working our way down to my earliest issue of Amazing Spider-Man. And I have a ton of books to show you that I might even have to split up into 2 parts. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know if you have any of these books, or if you wish you could have any of these books. Please let me know, because several of these are dream books of mine that I never thought I would get my hands on. And I remember commenting on a lot of other people's videos how much I wish I could have some of these books, and I'm so fortunate to be able to have several of these books, and especially most of the books I'll show you in the next part. But thank you very much for tuning in, and hope to see you in the next video. Alright, y'all take care. Bye.